Hello, I am Ragnarok, and welcome to the Reckoning. So today we are going to be looking at the orbs for the Age of Calamitous mod for Conan Exiles. So the most recent update to the Age of Calamitous mod was basically a rework to the entire map. The entire map is new, at least the AOC map is. Magic was also reworked. The Felgarth sub-faction was added in. So there's a lot of big changes to the game now. Within that, obviously, or not obviously, but Magic was reworked. There are a lot of big changes to it, and some of it can be kind of confusing just because, you know, the information out there and stuff like that. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to make a video going over the orbs. Main reason is because the orbs actually act a lot different, or not a lot different, a lot similar to the new magical shrines, the place where you would learn fire magic, or the different levels of fire magic, arcane magic, so forth, so forth. So I figured this would be a nice little jump into that. Also, the orbs actually have been given a pretty cool feature, and a couple ones that are really cool, like I'll be using them often. So I figured this would be a really good place to start off. So let's get into it. Okay, so the orbs have been in the game for a long time. They were decorations. They were just this pillar and then this orb on top. The most recent update added this underneath, so a lot of people are like, "Oh, cool! It looks cooler, whatever." But no, actually, there's actually more added to it. So these orbs are now interactable. When you interact with them, you actually have one of three results. You have a debuff, a buff, or basically a negative effect, which would be death. Those are your three outcomes. Now, there's a trick to it. So we have the orbs. I put the flags or the banners that belong to the faction because there's 4 orbs per magical faction. So Cold Embrace, Elvanor, and Felgarth. So if there's a Cold Embrace banner above it, that means this is an orb that you only get through their decorations. Now, the way it works is if I use this, so if you use this and you're not attuned to the type of magic that it deals with, you will die. It gives you something I didn't check on the side what it actually said, but it was something like 100 magic or 300 magic per second for 10 seconds. Basically, you're gonna die. There's no cure. There's no healing with it. So my first suggestion when dealing with these orbs is I would deal with them when I would put these in your base near your bed. Do not do this in the wild in some remote base that doesn't have a cot down. Make sure you're linked to your bed, because if you die, you don't want to end back far away from your corpse. So that is the first effect. So if I'm not attuned to the magic, and there's a hint. So these glowing dials underneath, that is actually your hint of what magic you need to be attuned to. So let's take a guess. Purple, that would be arcane magic. So you have to have arcane magic, the knowledge of arcane magic to use these. If you do not have arcane magic when touching any of these three, you will guarantee that you will get the death one. You won't get the buff and you won't get the debuff. You are guaranteed to die to it. So you have to understand the magic. Basically, it's like magic overload. You just don't understand that magic. You try to pull it into you and it kills you. So that's your first thing. So we have arcane magic is purple. The green one is earth magic. The red one, guess it, blood magic. Yellow is going to be fire magic. And the white one, or yeah, I'll say white one, is air magic. So you have to know at least one level of the magic. Now, for me, we'll go to the magics real quick. So I'm maxed out on fire, earth, air, arcane, but I'm only level 3 on blood. So I know the magics. Now, if you know a magic, even just level 1, you now have a chance of one of the 3 debuffs, or those items. You can die, you can get buffed or debuffed. Now, the way it works is the higher level you know of knowledge in that magical field. So, for example, I'm trying to use the Orb of Blood, the blood magic. The higher you go up, the higher percentage you have of getting the buff or the debuff. I mean, you have a higher percentage of getting the buff and a lesser percentage of getting the death, which is good. However, once you get to max level, like I am in arcane magic, you're guaranteed 100% to get the buff. You won't die, you won't get the debuff. So the cool thing, that's kind of the cool thing. You want to definitely level it up. Obviously, that's not to level 120. So for a while, you might have to do a little bit of roulette with this. So let's see if we can get the debuff. Okay, so we got the debuff this time. So what the debuff is magical corruption. Now, the text on it is wrong. It actually says accuracy increased by -8. It's actually incomplete, at least. It's not wrong, it's just incomplete. What it does is, if you get the debuff, it's -8 to all attributes for 1 hour. So for 1 hour, -8. Now, there's a simple solution to it, which might be obvious. Either way, -8 to every attribute's not a good thing. So you kind of want to make sure you max this out. But again, like I said, you can kind of keep hitting these until you get the buffs you want. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through. Now, I have the text on the wall, so you can probably read, but I just want to show you that you can get all these, and then we're going to demonstrate a couple of them real quick. So I'm actually going to skip a little bit real quick. Actually, no, I won't. We'll go in order. So the first one is Felgarth. This is the Orb of Vision, and if you use it, now I have maxed out all my magic now, not including the blood magic, so I'm guaranteed 100% results to get positive. Let's see if it actually works that way. So the Orb of Vision gives you magical damage has increased. All that means is your accuracy should be increased by 5. So let's take a look. Accuracy is increased by 5, and it's a 1 hour buff. So these are kind of cool because you can literally get attribute bonuses, and there's a couple that actually do things other than attribute bonuses for an hour. So it's kind of like the War Paint, but a magical version of it. The next one is the Orb of Faith. And as you can see, it's going to give me survival +5 for 1 hour. There it is. And we can take a look. Oh, wrong place. There you go. The Orb of Mysticism, which that one was the previous one was Elvanor. This one's also Elvanor. So this one gives magical damage and grit, and this gives a +3 to accuracy and a +3 to grit. So not a bad one actually. Especially these are all pretty good ones. You can't go wrong with extra survival. You definitely can't go wrong with extra accuracy if you're a magic. And grit's always good. Stamina's great. So those are arcane magic. Those are both Felgarth and Elvanor. So now we're going to move on to the earth magic ones. And this one is from Felgarth, and this is the Orb of Purity. So this is one that's not going to give you an attribute bonus. What this does is gives you protection against curses and poisons. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to fight this snake. Now we have the attunement of purity, which, as you can see, I got poisoned, but then the attunement to purity actually removed it instantaneously. Well, not instantaneously. It's, you have it for like a second or 1 or 2 seconds. And this would do it for both the poisons, so any poisons in the game, and curses. So when you fight like the Servants of the Wraith, if they curse you and stuff like that, with the, I think it's like Death Curse or whatever it is, that will take that off pretty much immediately also. So this is actually a really, really good one, depending on what boss you're fighting and where. Fighting spiders, get this one. All right, the next one is going to be for Elvanor. This is going to be the Orb of Life, and as you can see, Vitality +5. So this is another really good one. You can't go wrong with extra health, right? So now we're going to move on to blood magic. So these next three are going to be blood magic, and they're actually all for the Cold Embrace. So the blood magic ones are all Cold Embrace. This is the Orb of Blood. This gives you strength +5. And I've actually never tried to get all these all at once, so I'm curious if it'll actually take up my entire left of my screen with the buffs. So that'd be interesting. So this is a very unique one. This one actually is one that I'm going to use a lot in this game. And this one is the Orb of Plague. And yes, you probably guessed it. This gives you protection against the plague. Now, you ask, what plague? Well, that's the Elarikan plague. The nice green plague that you get from all the Scourge creatures. This one gives you protection against it. Okay, so we spawned in a Scourge Reaper. I'm going to kill it real quick. And we're going to stand in the plague. So as you can see, I'm getting stacks. So let's see how many stacks I get before it actually goes away. So 5 stacks, 6 stacks, 7, 8, 9. That's a full stack, and it's gone. So you're definitely not going to want to stand in the cloud. However, if I get out of the cloud, watch the plague, the stacks. And they go away. So it's not quick. It's not full protection where it's not like the poison one where it pretty much instantaneously goes away. You will keep it. It's something like 10 seconds. I've tried counting, but it's a little on and off. As you see, I've done this a couple times. Oh, the cloud's gone. Let's get another one. So this time I decided to do a dragon just because they have a bigger cloud and it lasts a little longer. So let's go away and let's see if we can get rid of these stacks. And there you go. So it's not crazy fast. Oh, there you go. There's another one. And you definitely can't stand in the cloud with it, but if you run out of the cloud, it will go away. You won't have to try to heal and not die through the entire amount of the Elarikan plague. So it is pretty good. I mean, it's not a crazy buff. It's not, I wouldn't say it's OP, but it's definitely going to help survivability, especially if you're fighting a mass amount of Scourge creatures. I'll probably try using this in the Bobby's dungeon to see how viable it actually is. So next we have the Orb of Death, and again, this is Cold Embrace and Blood Magic. This one's actually a pretty cool one too. Not as OP or anything like that, but it's a nice one. So magical protection against the corruption. So again, what this does is the actual corruption in the game, the vanilla feature. This will actually remove stacks, and we'll give you a quick demonstration of that. 1 second. Okay, so we're gonna test out the Attunement of Death, the corruption protection in a cloud of corruption. So as you can see, I'm gaining at the very, very bottom. I'm gaining corruption, but I'm also losing it at the same time. So it's basically evening out. So it pretty much gets rid of corruption at the same rate it gets it now, or gives it. If you fight something that gives you corruption, you'll see it actually reduces it pretty fast. So you can gain corruption depending on what you're fighting. So let's actually try maxing out my corruption and see how fast it drops. And there we go, full corruption. Actually, I did beyond what was technically possible. But as you can see, it's actually dropping pretty fast. I would say, I don't know, 8%, 8 to 10% a tick, or a tick. So, I mean, it's a decent amount. Or not percent, sorry. 8 to 10 life per. So, it's a decent amount. I actually maxed myself out using a command, and I gave myself way too much more corruption than it's possible. But either way, as you can see, it actually drops the corruption pretty fast. So, pretty cool. I'll definitely use this in the Warmaker's dungeon. Okay, so now we're moving on to the Fire Magic. Now, the Fire Magic has one from each of the 3 magical factions. So this one belongs to Felgarth. This is the Orb of Love. And this one gives us Magic Endurance has been increased. So basically what that does, it gives you a protection against Stagger. So from being staggered from people. So let's test that out. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to test this out. I'm going to test this against a Vanguard Soldier. They're using a hammer. Usually you get knocked back a crap load. And as you can see, I'm not being knocked back or staggered at all. I can continue my punches uninterrupted. So I have Demigod mode on right now. That's why she's not killing me. But as you can see, no stagger. So this is an awesome, awesome one. This is maybe one of the best ones, I think. The Plague one's awesome, but it's very specific. This one, I mean, there are a lot of... especially NPCs now that they've got more powerful, specifically the Age of Calamitous ones with the rework they've had. There's a lot of, especially when you get quartered, you're going to get staggered a lot. Vangals are more than anything. Maybe Vangals and maybe the Elven Covenant also with all the daggers. But this is pretty powerful. And just to give you an example of what it's like when you don't have this protection, just for those that maybe don't fight Vangals that often. Okay, so here I am with no buffs, as you can see from the left side of the screen, and we're going to take a look. And as you get staggered, and I'm trying to actually attack right now with my fists, and I can't even get a punch in. So, especially when they do the combo, you're basically just getting pounded on until they take a quick break. So if you're fighting like 2 or 3 of these, it's getting pushed back constantly. So having that is a pretty big deal. Okay, so the next one is Elvanor, and this is another Fire Magic one, and this is the Orb of Clarity. This gives you +5 to Encumbrance, 1 hour. And even though some of these don't have timers on them, they all should be 1 hour buffs. So like the Purity, the Plague, and the Death, they don't have a timer on them. But all these buffs, even including the debuff that you get, the -8 to all attributes, they should all be 1 hour. So it's a pretty good amount of time to actually have these. So the next one is the Orb of Frost, and as you can see, Agility +5, and this is a Cold Embrace. And the last one is Air Magic. So this is the only one that has Air Magic currently, at least, and this gives a Grit +5, and this is Felgarth, the Orb of Intellect. So as you can see, there are 12 of them total, 4 for each faction. And, I mean, the factions have pretty cool ones. You can actually kind of look at it, too, and tell. So this clean white one, that's going to be Elvanor. The black one, Cold Embrace, surprise. And then the one that has, like, a slate stone, Felgarth. Their buildings are slate. So it actually kind of looks like it goes off... It looks like they kind of go off their build materials. But as you can see, it does stack them all on the left side. I have a lot of buffs right now. If I go into here, go into attributes, and we have +5 strength, +5 agility, +5 vitality, +8 accuracy, +8 grit, +5 encumbrance, +5. So basically +5 to everything, and then +8 to accuracy and grit. So I'd say that's pretty good, as well as, well, there's too many there, as well as we basically can't be poisoned, we can't be cursed. We have a way to basically get rid of any kind of corruption pretty fast. How to shake off a little bit of plague protection. It's a very light plague protection. And then we also can't be staggered. So, I mean, this makes you a pretty good fighting machine. I think the orbs are pretty cool. Now, as I said, the orbs are kind of similar to the magic, and where I was talking about that is a lot of people have probably found the shrines. If you click on the shrines, it may say you're not attuned to the shrine, and then you die. It's the same premise. If you don't, but instead of like saying you need to know blood magic to use a blood magic shrine, there's an actual attunement in the world. There's an NPC you have to find, and they actually, well, not always an NPC, but there's a tome you have to basically get, and it's a different tome than the tome you use in crafting, and it basically attunes you, gets your mind ready for that type of magic. There's a nature attunement that lets you learn fire, earth, and air. And then there's a mystical one for arcane and a demonic one for blood. So that's where these are the similar. If you go up to any of those shrines and you're not attuned to that type of magic, you will get killed. And then once you get that attunement, you won't be killed. So that's where the similarities are. We are going to be doing updated magic videos. I'm working on that currently. We have a lot of information to cover in this most recent patch, because basically Age of Calamitous is pretty much brand new, more or less. There's probably more new things than there are old things in it. So we have a lot of stuff to go through. I wanted to get these ones out for fast you. I figured it'd be a shorter video. And like I said, it can kind of lead us into some of the other stuff we have to go over. So stay tuned. Hit the subscribe button so you get notified as soon as these videos go out. Like I said, I'm going to get these out to you super fast, or as fast as I can at least. If you have any questions or comments, leave in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of the new orb update. I mean, I like it personally. I think decoration, they were cool with the lights. I mean, that alone makes them even cooler. But given effects, I think it's really, really awesome. Also, I'm kind of curious, does anybody think there may be OP? If there's ones that could maybe be a little better or maybe a little less good, let me know in the comments below. I'm very interested to hear about that. Also, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Also want to give a huge shout out to our Patreons and our elite Patreons. I appreciate everything you all do. If you're interested in being part of our Patreon crew, getting early access to videos before or some of the videos before they get posted. Joining a private room in the Discord, a bunch of other cool things you can get when you join our Patreon crew. Check the link in the description below. Also, we stream on Twitch and have an amazing Discord with the servers that I typically play on for the YouTube channel and for the Twitch channel. So links for both those in the description below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much, and as always, fear the reckoning.